Hi everyone, welcome to Tea Time, a series of video interviews with experts at Cornell University. Today we'll discuss about the mobile payments in China. My name is Mumuksha Khicha and I'm the part of the Emerging Markets Institute team. Today we have with us Lourdes Casanova. She is the director of Emerging Markets Institute. We also have with us Christopher Marquis. He's the S.C. Johnson Professor in Sustainable Global Enterprise and Teaching and Doing Research in China. We have with us John Ninia. He is the Rawlings Scholar and a sophomore at Cornell University doing research on emerging markets and mobile payments. John?
Thank you. Professor Marquis, could you explain what mobile payments are and how they work in China?
Sure. So mobile payments, just very simply, are basically paying through your cell phone, either through having a vendor scan a QR code on your phone, or you actually scanning a QR code at the merchant. And the explosion of this type of payment in China has just been amazing. Just a few years ago, China was mostly a cash society, did not really use credit cards a lot. But now, I go to China and every time I'm there, I don't use cash, I don't use credit cards. Literally, probably the last 10 times I've been in China, every transaction I did was through my phone. And this could be from, big transactions like my hotel bill to even small transactions like just paying for like a bottle of water at a convenience store. So it's really, the ubiquity of it in China is hard to grasp unless you've been there.
Do you find that mobile payment technology adds any risks, or does it add a sense of security to the payment systems in China?
Yeah, I think that there's both pros and cons, sort of risks and security. And let me actually, before addressing that, say a little bit more about the ecosystem of mobile payments in China. So, there's really two main platforms, one of which is Alipay, which spun out of Alibaba. So this was founded to provide online transactions for Alibaba's sort of like eBay clone, where people were buying and selling from individuals, and without sort of a third-party payment mechanism in the middle, it was hard for the people selling things and people buying things to trust one another. So Alibaba came up with this Alipay, which then sort of took off and grew into its own app in and of itself. WeChat is the other major platform, and WeChat is sort of like a combination of WhatsApp and Facebook and Instagram, so sort of the main social media interaction, communication platform. And they had a very innovative strategy of starting their mobile payments. They, 1 year around the Chinese New Year, where people send each other money, the red packets, they actually innovated with a mobile sort of electronic red packet, and then sort of usage just skyrocketed. And so, currently about 54% of the market, online payment market is Alipay, and about 40% is WeChat, with some others, minor ones for the for the smaller amounts. On this issue of risk and sort of security and benefits, again, I mean, like I said, it's sort of a mixed boat. So on the one hand, you have a lot of security and positive elements. So for instance, in China, there traditionally was not like a credit scoring type of set of institutions where, like in the US or other places, you'd be able to get a credit card or get a loan. And so, through AI and the data that Alibaba has, they were able to actually create their own sort of credit scoring. They call it sort of Sesame credit. And this has been really beneficial to, sort of people be able to get loans, or, maybe preferential access to sort of savings products, et cetera. So that's sort of one real sort of benefit. A downside that many people see is that this has then led to, sort of potential for, sort of a surveillance state, basically, and there's discussion in China of this sort of, social credit score, where, individuals are sort of irrespective of these platforms given, scores as to sort of how reliable they are through their behavior on these platforms, and it could lead to them maybe not being able to buy train tickets or travel a variety of places. And so, there is potentially, as there is with a lot of sort of AI, or Orwellian type of aspects that could surface. So I see that as potentially, a risk to it.
How have mobile payments expanded outside of China?
So at least sort of Alipay and WeChat Pay, their expansion outside of China has mostly followed Chinese tourists. So they are very active in sort of large tourist locations. You know, you go to New York City and a lot of places except, you know, particularly Alipay, but also WeChat Pay. I read recently that Pay had an alliance with Walgreens where they're going to be in all 7,000 Walgreens stores, so you can pay with those apps through, you know, in Walgreens. It's been harder for them to engage the actual U.S. consumer because there's a variety of regulations around financial services. So for instance, a couple years ago, Alipay tried to purchase MoneyGram, a U.S. sort of payday loan company, and this was blocked by the U.S. government for, you know, sort of financial protection of U.S. consumer reasons. So I think it's, you know, the spread of it has mainly been, you know, sort of them following the Chinese tourists, not so much, you know, competing indigenously with U.S. financial services companies. And in the U.S., I should just mention, you know, you can pay with, you know, Apple has a app. People pay like with their Starbucks app, but it's much more fragmented in the U.S. And in China, there are these two giants that really control the market.
What is the current effect of the coronavirus on online payment industries?
Yeah, I think it's sort of, when you see things like, you know, this sort of, you know, horrible, you know, situation and virus that is taken hold in China, you can really see, you know, how these online apps and online payment mechanisms have so deeply penetrated life and society. So for instance, you know, at a very simple level, you know, one of the things that the government has been doing is, you know, sort of collecting cash and sort of destroying and replacing cash, because that's actually one mechanism through the virus can pass. So you can imagine that there's going to be even bigger push away from cash as a result of this. You know, another sort of aspect of this is that, again, sort of this sort of Orwellian state and AI. I just recently was reading a report that, you know, they both Alipay and WeChat Pay have used their data, and I don't know, I'm not sure how they do it, if it's through tracking where people move or what they're buying. Are they buying a lot of masks or various flu protection things? I'm not sure exactly how they do it, but actually people now are getting health scores, either green, yellow, or red. And this then, you know, dictates, you know, whether they're able to get on trains or buses. I mean, they have to actually show, you know, are they health score green? And it's based on, you know, these the sort of big data and AI that these firms have developed. So I think, you know, it sort of shows how really deeply penetrated into the society these apps are.
I was thinking, John, you worked on the subject during the summer.
Yep.
And comparing also US and China. So if you have something to add to these very interesting comments from Professor Marcus.
Yep, so I've been doing research particularly on mobile payments in China and how they've been helping facilitate economic growth in China, particularly cutting down costs from traditional credit card payment systems that would typically take a fee from the business in order to conduct the transaction. And like Professor Marcus was saying, how this recent spread in mobile payment technology has really taken over the landscape, as China was traditionally a cash-based society, but now is evolving more towards mobile payment technology. I think that this same boom may occur in the US as businesses may try to turn away from traditional credit card payment systems and begin adopting mobile payments. Yeah, that was very interesting. I found the topic of destroying cash very interesting with the coronavirus.
Yeah, and I think you're exactly right. I mean, you know, credit cards traditionally charge like 3%, and I think, you know, this, you know, I think in the U.S. they're such a powerful force, it's hard to dislodge them, but I think, you know, China is really able to leapfrog them very effectively. And I think on this economic growth point, I think, you know, where I see, you know, there's growth for merchants because they're able to sort of save money and it's easier for people to pay. But I think, you know, these sort of ancillary services that have been developed, like for instance, when the Sesame Credit could be developed, you know, more small businesses can get loans to grow their business. You know, individuals will have more access to credit and better savings products. So I think that you know, the data that's captured by these platforms can be of tremendous use to help generate economic growth. Although, you know, again, there is sort of these sort of Orwellian risks of big data and AI as well.
Thank you, everyone. Next time, we'll talk about the emerging markets as a theme approved by the College of Business at Cornell. Don't forget to follow us on our social media pages. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.